People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome, my good people. Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. And I'm with your host, CJ Moneyway. Let's get it.
Welcome, my good people. Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. It's your boy, CJ Moneyway. Today, I have two special guests. Welcome to the show. Number one, international selling authors of the book, Unbreakable Marriage, Marriage Mentors, Pastor and First Lady Sam. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, CJ.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys can come to the show today. So before we get started, I just want to ask a question. Tell us, what is the process like of being marriage counselors?
I mean, how did we end up becoming?
Yeah, like when you guys go into a marriage session, how's the preparation that you guys do before you? Because I know everybody's situation is different, but I know you guys have to stay on probably the same course and go in with the same mentality. How is that process?
Yeah. Well, basically, our process begins with the free consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get the couple to fill out a questionnaire ahead of time. Just some few simple questions, a little bit about their background, what in their opinion or from their perspective, led to where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they looking for? Like what kind of changes, do they want to see in their marriage? And we just ask one probing question, and that is, like, are there any exceptional circumstances that we need to know about? Like, are you battling any addictions? Did you experience any trauma, tragedies, that type of thing? And so that basically gets us started into a conversation that will go deep.
Mm.
And based on where they're at, what they've been through, then what we do, CJ, is we do not do counseling sessions, because we have a whole mentorship process.
Okay.
And so we're basically trying to see when we meet with a couple, because most couples that come to us are like 2 steps away from divorce court. And so at that point, it's like if they really are motivated and both of them are willing to do the work it takes, then at that point we say, hey guys, this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. This is the process that's going to take you there. And here are the steps along the way. Are you willing to make a commitment? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. After the initial, visit or meeting with the couple, then we do an assessment. It's a fairly detailed assessment that tells them exactly where their marriage at. Then we can cater everything accordingly.
It's a well-known assessment. It's called the Prepare Enrich assessment. It was actually developed by a group of Christian psychologists, sociologists, pastors, etc., counselors, and so it's very, very accurate. In finding out where people are at in areas like, communication, conflict resolution, financial management, the sexual relationship, the impact of family and friends, and so on. And so most of them, by the time they come to us, tank on virtually all of those areas.
I can imagine. So let me just ask a question. This wasn't on my list, but just listening to you guys, like, what is one of the main things that you guys get as far as getting that close to divorce? A lot of times I hear that is communication.
Oh, absolutely. People have either stopped communicating or they cannot communicate without getting into an argument or a fight. They get to a point where they don't believe the partner can say anything that is good or redemptive. And so anything that they say is often misunderstood. Yeah, a lot of communication. Communication is at the heart of a lot of the issues, that they face. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, CJ, is also the baggage that they bring in. All the trauma, the abuse, all the unhealed hurts, from the past. It can go back up to the childhood, and they bring it along, and that's how they see their spouse through those lenses.
Yeah, they get triggered easily.
Yeah.
So they may have grown up in a household, where the mother treated them a certain way. Then all of a sudden, the wife treats the husband in a certain way, and he gets mad at her. Sometimes almost in a very exaggerated way, and she's like, I didn't think I did anything that bad. But what he's doing is he's still got some unhealed wounds from his mother, but he takes it out on his wife. And so we have to become, and of course, not everybody is aware of these things.
Yeah.
And so we have to make them aware that, yes, your problem may be that you're not talking to each other, that, you can't touch each other, all those kind of things. But there are some deep-rooted issues that we need to address rather than just teaching you, how to communicate.
Exactly.
Because before we can teach you how to communicate, you must want to communicate.
Yeah.
And that is the deeper work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I can understand that a little bit. Because there's sometimes some things that we hold close to the chest, and so that we don't talk about it. And so now, like you guys saying, I don't know what your issue is. You don't know what my issue is. But it comes from years ago. That was a good one, Miss Sam's baggage. I like that. So, what are some of the most important keys to sustaining a long-term relationship? Somewhat like you guys, 40 years plus, and congratulations.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think in one word, it is the habits that you practice on a regular basis, and the patterns that you establish. They can be healthy, or they can lead to like a breakdown, eventually. And so once you take care of those, and we help people to examine what those habits are that they brought into it, but more importantly, we teach them some healthy habits that will actually, like the way we phrase it is, your habits will shift the spiritual atmosphere in your marriage. Yeah. So when people come to us, the atmosphere is usually very toxic, in their homes, and that's why they cannot see anything, good in each other. And more often than not, the toxicity has to do with certain habits that they have developed over the years. And what do I mean by habits? Habits might be as simple as not praising each other, not appreciating each other, always looking for the negative in each other, criticizing, condemning, complaining, comparing. All those things are toxins. So now we have to teach them how to replace all of that. And come from a Christian perspective. Quite often we find that even Christian couples are not used to praying together. They don't read the Bible. Some of the basic things.
Yeah. Also, I think letting our partner know that they are the number one in your life, it would be very helpful. It will help sustain, like you said, the marriage. Lots of times, especially when you have little kids, we forget, all the attention goes on the children. And we forget to, take time for each other. So those are important things. Date nights, we still do that. We didn't do it in the beginning, but it's very important to make time for each other. And
which again is really a healthy habit that you build in. Then that becomes such a part of your life that if you didn't do it, you'd think something was wrong. And so that's the. Well, let me even backtrack one second, CJ. One of the things that we are finding, sadly, is that most couples, including Christian couples, are going into marriage without being adequately prepared for it. And so when some wind of adversity blows, when they start getting into a fight, quite often they don't know how to handle it properly. So they either blow up, or they shut up, and neither one is healthy. And so to go into your marriage, with the tool bucket, where you pull out some things as you go along, can go a long way, towards avoiding breakdown.
Yeah, I believe you with that, Pastor. I've always heard, and I think I heard Joyce Meyer say this some years ago, and it just stuck with me. She said, you got to go into this thing on a solid foundation. If the foundation isn't solid, no matter how much you try to build on it, it's gonna come down at some point because it was some cracks in the foundation. So and so I took that to heart, because I'm listening to what you're saying about that, and so like me and my wife, and that's something that we do. Well, I work rotating shifts, but we make time for each other. Well, we would have date nights on like Saturdays when I was off, and we would watch movies or our favorite TV shows and things of that nature. So I do agree with you guys that is important, because like Miss Sam said, that a lot of times we take the attention to the kids. And matter of fact, Pastor, I was just telling somebody this the other day. I said, we know well, as far as Christians, those that's in the Word, we know what the pecking order is. But
yes,
at the same time, don't be fighting with the kid to try to get attention. Like if she fixed the kid plate first, don't sit up there and get mad like, oh, you supposed to fix my plate first. I'm the man of the house. Come on.
Yeah. Well, at our age, we realize there comes a stage where the kids are no longer going to be part of your life on a regular basis. But you still got each other. And if you focus way too much on the children and neglected each other, then you'll end up like, who's the stranger that I'm living with?
Exactly. That's some good points right there. So on top of that, let's talk about your number one international best-selling book, The Unbreakable Marriage.
Sure. So I'll tell you the way the book came about was actually, we were mentoring married couples and having a tremendous success rate. Like we are actually very confidently, we can say that 100% of the couples that went through our mentorship process and did everything that we taught them to do and maintained it, got a breakthrough. And so I was telling a coach that I was working with, I wanted to talk to him about, how can we expand our reach? Because up to that point, we were getting all of our clients through referrals. And so he said to me, guys, you have something phenomenal, that you're working with. And if you're just going to be working with couples and they're the only ones that know about this process, you're really shortchanging the world. Because many couples can actually grab a hold of what you're offering. So he said to us, this is a no-brainer. You have to write a book. And in the book, you have to share everything that you do so that if somebody picks up the book, and maybe, you have to create something of a companion workbook and so on, but they'll be able to get the same breakthrough if they apply themselves the same way. And so that's how we ended up writing the book.
Yeah, it's basically the process of our mentorship, this right from the beginning till the end. Yeah.
So, so let me ask you a question on top of that. So, when we first started, you say that a lot of times when people come to you guys, they almost, two steps from divorce. So how much of an effect does the book have on people that's, maybe in a somewhat stable relationship, but it could be better?
Well, the book has something for everybody. As a matter of fact, one of the groups that we find using the book is actually couples who are engaged and just, waiting to get married, because now our book can serve as a marriage manual for them. And so they actually go into marriage developing some good habits. Now, somebody's been married for a while, like most of us get into habits and patterns that we may not have started with. And so all of a sudden to pick up the book, it'll say, oh, there's something that we should be doing. We haven't been doing that. There's a good way that we can handle conflict, that nobody taught us, and so on. So there are things that anybody can pick up from the book. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we did, and then this, CJ, this generation doesn't like to read a lot.
No.
We have a YouTube generation.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we ended up doing was actually create an e-course where we share the content of the book in video form.
Okay.
And so people can watch the videos together, do some exercises.
Right? In a group, group setting,
or even as a couple individually. As a matter of fact, the best way to get the most out of our book, e-course, audiobook, whatever it is to actually partner with another couple. And it's even better if one couple is fairly new in marriage, maybe 1 or 2 years, and the other couple's been married for like 10 years or longer, has seen some things, been through some things. And together, if they would go through our curriculum in book form or e-course form, well, two things happen. First of all, when you're in an accountable relationship with somebody, you will get it done.
Yeah.
If you just try to do it on your own, one day, like somebody might, your favorite team might be playing that day.
Yeah.
And so I know that's the time we set aside for our session, but, watching the Bears is more important, right? And so people can get distracted. But if you make a commitment to someone else and both of them keep the commitment, you will go through it. And by the time you go through it, not only do you get all the contents, all the strategies, all the insights, but you've also developed a good friendship with another couple.
Exactly. So
they know you, you know them. And when you run into some kind of an issue after finishing this process, you've got somebody that you can turn to and talk to. And I don't know if any of your pastors are listening to this, but that's a great strategy that you can use as a pastor in your church. So you don't have to handle every time somebody has a problem with their marriage. You raise up some other people in your congregation to be marriage mentors.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a real good idea. Okay, so let me ask you this. So what is behind the inspiration where I was reading where it said that you guys want to save over 50,000 marriages, marriage couples over the next 5 years?
Well, it actually came to me one day. I was just, spending some quiet time with God, and it felt like God saying very clearly, just after the book was published, it says, like, the reason for this book being published is not for you to sell a lot of books. It's for you to use the contents of this book to save 50,000 marriages from divorce in the next 5 years. And I was actually shocked because we work with couples one-on-one, so we cannot handle, more than a few couples at a time.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, and I didn't get the revelation right away, but after a while, God gave me, both of us more strategies of how we could go about doing it. So one of them was by raising up other people who could do what we are doing right now. So we train them and we teach them how to do the same marriage mentorship that we're doing. Another strategy that God gave us was what we talked about earlier: work with couples before they get married. So now you're preventing them from ever getting to the place of breaking down, or even prepare them for the marriage so they never get to the repair stage of their marriage, and so on, right?
Or even train couples like you talked about before in churches, so that they can in turn disciple other couples who are maybe just married for a year or two. That's how it's going to expand. We are slowly getting invited to different churches. We've got we were invited to a family camp in another province this summer. So we are hoping this way it will grow and
And one of the things that really kind of gnaws at me is that the divorce rate within the church is often not that much different from what it is on the outside. And so we can't do anything about people outside the church, but we have at least some influence over people who are within the church. And so if we can get people within the church to get their marriages back on track, then start off their marriage by building something that is healthy and lasting, then we can set an example. Like one of the challenges I give to pastors is how would you like to be able to put up a sign that says we have a 0% divorce rate in our church? That'll get the attention of everybody. Whether they're believers or not, they'll say that's impossible. How can you have that when outside it's over 50%? And so now people will be drawn to a church like that, or drawn to a couple who's got their marriage together, who treat each other well, and somebody else can very clearly see, like, this couple's got something there.
Yeah.
You want to know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So part of that's part of the motivation, is really to make sure that we set a good example. And Sloan used a very good term, and that is discipling couples, which unfortunately, I mean, I was a pastor for 35 years. We never did. We never had that revelation of having one couple disciple another couple. We had, people discipling each other, but not as couples for their marriage. Wow, like that could make a tremendous difference.
Yeah, I get it, because you do have other couples in the church. I can think about my church that's been, have long marriages and have sustained marriages for a long period of time, that if they were to be mentored in that aspect, that, because we always try to do it anyway, like, if you see a younger couple and, you talk to them and try to, like, hey, yeah, the first couple years is kind of rough. But, like you said earlier, a lot of times, especially now, like you say, this whole generation, we're a little different. And so the first sign of trouble is like, and I'm out of here. And so, so you do try to encourage people, that, like some of the younger people and things of that nature. But I like the idea that you guys have a manuscript, that a blueprint that people can go by, and that's been tried and true. So I pray that you guys will get that out to more people, and that it'll fluctuate in more churches, and everybody get on that page. So what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced over the 40 years of marriage?
Okay, I'll let you go first. I was the one who created
first on every other question. You go first.
Because I created a lot of challenges for her. So
I think one of the biggest challenges we faced is with our finances. Yeah. See, Jeeva handled all the finances all the time. And, when
I was single, before we got married.
Okay.
Yeah. So it continued. When we got married, it continued. And I worked, but I never, really wanted to know or paid attention to what's happening with the money. I thought I just trusted him. So it came. And then eventually, we had children. We have, 3 children. I knew, things were not good. But he didn't tell me. So all of a sudden, I found out all the credit cards had been maxed out, and we were in deep trouble. So that's when, we decided to take a course on how to, handle, steward the.
You probably heard about Dave Ramsey. Financial Peace University. Okay. Well, part of what happened was we were both raised with very different philosophies. And this is where, like, your childhood, not just in terms of trauma and that type of thing, but also the patterns that you that you observe from your own family. You don't even think that you're learning it, but you are. And so in Slojan's family, her father was very strict with this money, in that his philosophy was, if we don't have the money, we don't buy anything. It's as simple as that. And that went all the way from buying groceries to buying a house. That was his philosophy. I was raised with not a philosophy where you just go spend and get into debt, but it was more like, if you need something and you know that you're going to be able to pay it off, then it's okay to go into debt. And so now I took that to a little bit more of an extreme, where after a while I just kind of lost track. I just kept on, like, to me, if I had room in my credit card, that meant I could afford it. It's a really perverted way of thinking. And so, so eventually, it did, cause those problems. And the clash, between the ways in which we were raised to think about money had a lot to do with it. And so she was always saying, we got to save, we got to save, we got to save. And I'm like, no, we got to, pay off these things first before we can save. And so eventually we thought, we're fighting too much about money. It's not that we didn't have enough of it, but we were not handling what we had properly. And so we said, we have to get the independent, opinion or help of someone, who would not take my side or her side, but also be biblical, in what they taught. And so at that point, because I listened to Dave Ramsey on Christian radio quite a bit, and I heard about the Financial Peace University, we thought, okay, there's something that we can both take. So we made a decision that we will take this program, and we may not fully agree with everything he teaches, but we're not going to bring it up, right? Because we're just going to do it for a year and see how it turns out. And it basically turned out to be a lifesaver for finances.
Yeah. We got out of debt, and
So it opened up everything else in you guys' life too, huh? So was this before you were pastor or after?
No, this was like, I don't know how many years into marriage.
Oh, after we were parents.
Parents, after we were parents, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pastor, and I know you know this, that sometimes in life too, that we go through certain things, and it was meant to go through.
Yeah.
And then to get to, where you at now, because I think I listened to my pastor, he talks about this sometimes too, like with finances, especially because you have to learn how to deal with finances with the church.
Yeah.
And so, so going through certain things and what you guys went through, and then, being able to recover from that, it helps down the line. Now I can deal, what guys say, you say, to much that's given, much is required. If you're faithful over small things, then I'll give you much. So sometimes we just go through trying situations.
That's
building
us for another purpose, for something that we probably didn't see at that time.
Yeah, and one of the good things that came out of the struggle we went through financially is that now we're able to help other couples. When they come to us, and a lot of times we find with finances, interestingly enough, it's actually a communication problem. Where one person keeps something secret, like I kept all those credit cards and stuff hidden from her. A lack of transparency, is a huge issue. And so, but the funny thing is, eventually everything comes out in the open.
Yeah,
like Jesus said, like nothing will remain hidden. And so when there's a day of reckoning that's coming, and so at that point things can turn very messy, create a lot of strife. But Susan was very upset when she found out about the mess that I'd created. But her attitude was, listen, we didn't need to come up with a game plan to take care of this, and we're going to both work at it together, and that's how we got out of that mountain of debt.
Yeah, that to me, just listening, that's a sign of a great woman, because as we said earlier, a lot of times nowadays, they running for the fences of finances. I can't do what I want to do, and you invest. They run into the hills, and try to find somebody that can support them, So that's why, I thank God for my wife, as I know you thank God for your wife, that, we can just be on solid ground, and then you go through things, but we're not running, we stick together, and whatever happens. And I think a lot of it too, Pastor, the part that plays is your spiritual. Where you at mentally? You know what I'm saying? Your faith. Where your faith at? Because we don't live by sight. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times we can, if we don't see it, then we get discouraged and want to run from things. But we don't live like that. We live by I hope. Because I believe and I trust in God that whatever situation I'm in right now, that He's gonna make it better. Just have to, and both have to believe that. Because if I believe it and she don't believe it, it's still gonna be a tug of war. So whatever. So good wifey stuff. So what makes you guys a strong believer that any marriage can be restored?
Okay, yeah. So we believe that any marriage can be restored under two conditions. First of all, the couple must believe that their marriage is worthy of being restored. And secondly, that they must be determined to do everything possible, to have that marriage restored. And so, like, one of the conditions that we impose on couples before we take them on as our clients is that both must be at the place of saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this, taken care of. And so when they have that determination, then, of course, we believe in the power of God, the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
The Spirit of God raised Jesus from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
If he can resurrect a man who was dead, he can certainly resurrect a marriage that is dying or is maybe even being given up for dead. And so it's that faith, and the power that comes from believing in God and their own determination, to do whatever it takes. And we tell couples right off the bat, this is not going to be an easy road. It's not a quick fix. And that's why our mentorship usually runs, in the 10 to 12 week range, where they meet with us every week and, we make them do a lot of homework and we keep them accountable. They need to give us proof that they did the homework and all of that, and people cannot keep that up if they don't have that steely will, and the determination to make it work, because they know that there's something better. Or for sometimes people are like, I don't know how we got to this, because, when we got married, we thought we would be spending eternity together. And we made that promise to God. The covenant was not just with each other, but it was with God first and foremost. And we don't want to break that covenant, And so we will pay the price that we need to pay to make sure that we don't break the covenant.
Yeah.
So can you help us? So when somebody comes with that kind of an attitude and determination, then it's scary about the door. It'll get done.
Anything you like to add on that?
Yeah, I think Jeeva covered all of it. I was going to say, trusting God is so important. There are couples that come to us, CJ, you look at them, they're not even, looking at each other. They're not talking. And you feel like, in the beginning, oh my goodness, is this going to work? And then if they, like Jeeva said, as they put in the work, do all the homework, and all of a sudden, we see the breakthrough and we pray for them. We pray with them. They go for inner healing that we talked about to get all the baggage out of that. And, when they submit themselves to do all of that, they will receive the breakthrough. And, Holy Spirit always comes through when, you work hand in hand with him. He always brings about the breakthrough. And like Jeeva said, if they have that commitment, do all the work, then Holy Spirit will do his part. And
we have a saying, and the saying is, when you do what only you can do, then God will do what only he can do. And so you just focus on everything that's under your control. And when you do that, you will get the breakthrough. Because it's God that's causing the breakthrough. You're not causing it. You're just preparing yourself, to be in a place where he wants to give you the breakthrough.
I was just thinking about that scripture, planting the seeds. How people would say that some plant, some sow and some water.
Yes.
Sound like that's basically what you said. Sound like to me. I plant the seed because it say the plant, the sower, and the water. That neither one of them nothing, because it's God who gives the increase.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just do your part.
Yeah.
That's right.
As Miss Sam said, and then the Holy Spirit and God gonna do his part.
Yeah.
If you got that commitment. So on top of that, just let me ask just one question on top of that one. Who is the hardest ones to try to convert? The man?
Well, you know what? Like when we look at different couples, it's not always uniformly one or the other. In some cases, the man, I think generally speaking, the men have a lot more to do. But a woman can harden her heart towards her husband. And when that heart is hard, then it takes a lot of work to soften. And so we've seen both happen, where
every couple is different.
Where where the woman has had a softness of her heart first, and then it's got to wait for the guy to catch up. And sometimes it's the other way around, where the guy's got it and the woman is just holding on. She can't forget some hurt or whatever. And eventually, she finds the grace to forgive and keep moving forward. And then all of a sudden we see the breakthrough.
In most cases, it's the woman, who takes the initiative to contact us.
Mhm.
Want to have the marriage restored. Most
that's true.
cases. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I asked that question. It was something that I had on my list, but just listening to you guys, I was thinking about that because from my experiences and from people that that I've talked to, that I know, that is men are always thought, because they feel like they don't need counseling and we don't need, and then a lot of times it's because we're unchurched, because we don't have that connection with the spirit to, what I'm saying? So we tend to run away from things because I don't need to talk to a pastor to tell me about my life. And so, that's why I asked the question, because a lot of times, and a lot of people that I know personally, it's us that's reluctant to go to any type of counseling. I don't need no other man telling me what we got it all figured out, right? Why we're in the mess we in now. So, so that's why I asked that question. So how can couples learn to communicate better?
Okay. Well, as I said a while ago, first of all, they must be in a place where they really want to communicate, where they trust each other, because there's a lot of elements that go into what makes communication tick. And so if you have some blockages, like if you are holding some resentment against your spouse, then your desire to communicate is not even there. And so once you take care of that, one of the simplest things that we teach couples is what we call active listening. And so active listening means, you simply listen to what your spouse says and you try to rephrase it and you repeat it to let them know that you actually heard them. Because a lot of times when our spouse is talking, we're already thinking about what to say in response. What we're going to say next. And so we don't actually fully listen to what they're saying. And so, like in our lives, Lord often would have to say, what did I just say?
Yeah.
I tell by the look in my eye that I wasn't paying attention.
Sometimes he's looking at the phone.
Or like he said earlier, I'm watching the game, trying to listen to you at the same time, and I just drowned you out. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So part of learning to communicate is to take those baby steps. Like in our book, actually, we have an exercise. We just call them like discussion questions. So we just encourage couples to take a question. For example, one of the questions might be, what else on your bucket list? And both of you talk. And when your spouse says, well, one of the things on my bucket list is to climb Mount Everest. And so rather than saying, you're going to climb, no, it's like, oh, Mount Everest is on your bucket list? And so that will lead to more communication, because now your spouse is going to say, yeah, I remember seeing this picture, of these guys that were standing on the top, and that did something to me. I thought, what, man, I'd like to be able to do that. Oh, okay. See, and how you, like, what's your game plan? Like all this kind of stuff, it'll keep the communication going if you simply repeat, what you heard your spouse say. And so these are questions that we have where the answers will not cause a conflict. They're just, what they are. And now that you pay attention to what they say, then you're both on the same page, when those are concerned. So maybe the next time you go shopping somewhere and you see a picture of Mount Everest, maybe you pick up that painting, photograph, and you bring it back. And now that means like a whole lot more to your spouse than if you spend $500 on some gold stuff, because it's their dream. So you heard the dream, and now you're doing something in response to it. Yeah. So that's a good way to start. Yeah. What else could you say about communication?
The other thing is how you phrase your hurt. We teach our couples two phrases. Instead of, say Jeeva came home late and he didn't call me. When he comes home, instead of saying, what's wrong with you? You didn't call me. So I would say, two phrases. When you were late, when you came home late, and then I felt.
And you didn't call me.
And you didn't call me. I felt, not respected. I felt hurt. I was worried. So those two phrases, when you and I felt. If you, say it that way, then it, just calms the whole situation down.
Yeah. And you're still like, you're not sugarcoating anything.
Yeah.
Or somehow excusing your spouse for doing something, but say, hey, you know what? You did this. And when you did this, rather than, attaching something to that attacks them, for their character or for their negligence, you say, you know what? This is how I felt. I need you to know that.
Yeah.
And so when, let's say that, in this case, Slogan said that to me, then I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that, that you felt that way. Simply, so now it's like I'm coming back to her with a more of a humble attitude, because, she has basically shared her heart, without causing any hurt.
Yeah.
Whereas if she had just started off by, you're so insensitive, you never care about whether I know or not, do you? It's all like, you can go into that kind of a mode. The message is still the same. You stayed out late without letting me know. But because it's phrased this way, then it's more likely to lead to, some, apology, some, resolve of, hey, I'll be more careful in the days to come, and so on. It leads to peace.
It's practice, it doesn't come right away.
It'll come natural.
Many times forget, and then you'll think, oh no, that's not to start the sentence. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I'm listening to you guys. I get it, because to me, that's like a form of you're talking to me and not talking at me.
Exactly.
Yes.
So like a lot of times, like you come home late, you fussing and yelling. You're not actually talking to me. You're talking at me, and so you get defensive.
Yes.
You start talking, especially at me. But like you said, Patrick, you come, it's a humble thing. She's telling me how she feels, so I can't come back like, you always.
Yeah, exactly.
I ain't think about it like that. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, that's very good. Yeah, I think that's a very good point that you made, CJ. That because it puts you on the defensive, and then out of the defensive posture, you would say, well, you ain't no saint neither.
I'm going back and forth.
How about the time you did this, and it had nothing to do with being late? You bring up another, past hurt, and you can go back and forth. Before you know it, one person is sleeping in the doghouse.
Yeah, I get that. So I enjoyed you guys. This is my last question for you guys for the day, as you guys was talking about earlier. So why do you say that there's no such thing as marriage problems?
Okay. So we want to complete that quote. That's the first part of the quote. You have no marriage problems. You are two individuals with your own problems coupled together in a marriage. And together you'll give birth to marriage problems. In other words, problems in a marriage are caused by the people in the marriage.
Yeah.
It has to do with what you brought into the world, like the stuff that Slogan talked about, the baggage and so on. And so, unfortunately, a lot of couples, when they run into problems in their marriage, they go look for solutions to their problems. So it's like, if I can only, find some counselor who will give me the lowdown on how to communicate better, how to control my anger, or whatever the case may be, how to have a better sex life, whatever the case may be. So you focus on the problem and try to find a solution. And now the whole problem with that kind of an approach is that those solutions will not usually be sustainable, because the hurt that's inside of you that actually led to that becoming a problem will all of a sudden come to the surface. And then when that comes up, you'll find often couples will tell us, we just couldn't even get to the point of applying, what we learned, because it just came out of us, way too quickly, and we couldn't stop it from coming. Well, that's a sign of an internal hurt. That's a problem that the person has, which usually goes back to a hurt. Yeah. And so once you take care of the person, then the marriage problems really, are not that much of an issue anymore. Because when you change, when you get healed on the inside, then you will respond to what your partner does or says in a very different way than if you didn't take care of it.
Well, that's a good point right there. That's a good point. It deal with me. Once I work with me, and then it would be no marriage problem because you say sometimes we bring the problem. I was just telling somebody this not too long ago. I say, he said something about the house or whatever. I say, hey, look, man, if you want a peaceful house, you got to bring peace to the house.
Yes.
You got to bring the peace, because if you bring in chaos or whatever, then your wife of course she gonna, and 9 times out of 10, I'm just speaking from being out on the streets and living that lifestyle or whatnot. We the ones bringing the issues home, because of what we doing. And so, like I just told him, I said, hey man, if you want peace, bring peace. I like a peaceful house home.
Exactly.
And so, I'm sure you've heard this, like when you put the blame on somebody, when you point one finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at you.
Back at you,
And so you take care of yourself. And, but it's very easy to blame somebody else.
Always.
And that unfortunately happens in marriage a lot. If only, you behaved better. If only you hadn't done that. If only you did this, and not realizing that, like you're at fault as well. So if instead you say, okay, Lord, show me where I need to change, and then you implement whatever you hear the Lord say to you, then, you're not always looking, at what your spouse needs to change and telling them. You tell your spouse what they need to change, and you don't do any changing, or you believe you don't need to change. Woo!
I mean, I'm listening to you, Pastor, and like you say, you ask the Lord, what is it that, you want me to change? And a few months ago, because I could, he won't let me out the book of Genesis for some reason. The story of Joseph is my favorite story, Genesis 37 on. So, but I was searching for something, Pastor, and I say, like from times past or whatnot. And so I was reading Genesis 3, where they had, ate from the tree and everything, and God came to them in the cool of day, and this one got me. I just had to stop right here and just say that Adam say, well, it was this woman whom you gave to me that had me to eat from the tree. And then he just had me to stop there and just meditate on that. And so what I got from that, Pastor, was Adam was the first man that didn't take accountability for his own actions.
Exactly.
So he showed me that's where we are today as well. We don't take accountability for our own actions. You guys was just alluding to. And so until you start taking accountability for what you do, then like you said, Pat, you're going to always shift the blame on somebody else. So that's just all I had to say.
Good revelation.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. So where can we find the book, and where can we find the courses?
Okay. So the book is actually available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can pretty well go to any bookstore and have them order it for you, because we're published by the major publishing companies that will get them to you. And our website is where you come to get more information about our mentorship. And our website is very simple. We're the Sams from Canada. So it's thesams.ca is our website address. And so when you come there, you can actually, read some information about what we do, some testimonials of couples who worked with us and received a breakthrough. And we actually give you our calendar there, where if your marriage is at a place, where, you need a consultation with us, then you can get right on our calendar there, fill out a couple of questions, and we will make time to meet with you and do a deep dive into your marriage and to give you some recommendations of what you need to do. And also tell you, what kind of commitment, we'll make to you if you want to work with us, and the commitment we expect of the couple, if they also, want or willing to work with us on our terms.
Okay. I appreciate it. Any social media outlets that you guys on? Anything? Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube is the place where you can go and find a lot of recordings. We actually have been doing a live stream just about every week for well over 2 years. And so the recordings of all the videos, or the live streams rather, are stored on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you Google my name, The channel is actually my full name in one word, Jeeva Sam.
Okay.
If you go to YouTube and just look for Jeeva Sam, then that channel will show up, and then you can have access to all of our teachings.
Oh, well, you got me, man. I'm going to sign up for the YouTube, subscribe. I'm going to grab that book, too. I want to be prepared in case people come to me, younger people come to me in marriages, man, and be able to help as many people as I can to spread y'all message out there, man. I really enjoyed it. And so I appreciate you guys for coming on today. Hey, so go get the book, The Unbreakable Marriage. Check out the mentor program that the Sams have. Hey, it's been a pleasure having him on the show. This your boy CJ Moneyway. We out here.